Mill is a historic grist mill located in Darke County, Ohio. To get to the mill, start at the county seat at Greenville. Take US Route 36 east for 5 miles to the Arcanum Bears Mill Road. Then, turn right, and travel 1/4 mile further. Construction of the mill began in 1848, along Greenville Creek. In 1975, Bears Mill was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. The mill was built 3½ stories high, framed with hand-hewn timbers, some being as long as 50 feet in length. The framing was then covered with black walnut siding. This example of early American industry is a working museum and a depository of agricultural history. Walking paths allow you to explore the trees, plants, and nature that surround the mill. The path along the mill race leads to a memorial dedicated to Darke County's Vietnam War veterans. Sales from the mill store and Clark Gallery help to support the preservation and maintenance of the mill and its 35 acres of property. The mill is closed on Easter, the 4th of July, Thanksgiving and Christmas. From the month of January through April, the mill is open Thursday to Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. On Sunday, the hours are 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. During the month of May through December, days open are expanded to include Tuesday and Wednesday. A self-guided tour can be taken whenever the mill is open, but to view a grinding demonstration you'll want to visit on Saturday at 2 p.m. or during one of the special events. What follows is a milling demonstration given by the miller, Terry Clark. If you can, you should visit the mill in person to fully appreciate his enthusiasm.
Terry Clark, in 1978, my wife and I were driving down this old country road, saw a for sale sign on this old building, read an article in the paper that Kings Island was going to buy the mill, take it apart and move it, and the next day I came out and got the first contract on the place, and the rest is history. 10 years ago we started a non-profit group called the Friends of Bears Mill and turned the mill over to the Friends, and they promised to keep the mill open to the public forever and ever with the help of the state. When we were cleaning the mill, right behind that board, I found this gun. It's an 1834 black powder, Belgian barrel, 62 caliber, English firing mechanism, cherry stock, and the sequence in firing this, you would have 3 pouches, one with gunpowder, put your gunpowder in, one with packing that would be bark or material, then you use this ramrod to compress it, and then you put the bullet in, and the bullets just look like lead shots, marbles. This little bullet would be for squirrels or birds. I don't know how much meat you can get off a squirrel. This one we'd use for the tax man. We don't want to kill him, but we want to let him know we mean business. And this would be for that wild Indian. Put the bullet in, and when you put the bullet in, you couldn't let your gun down because it'd roll out, so you'd have to hold it up and then shoot. And if you missed, you're in trouble, because you had to redo the whole sequence again. So to save time, they take the bullets, just put them in their mouth. That way they don't have to dig around. Gunpowder, packing, ramrod, bam! And as they're running through the woods, sometimes they would swallow these bullets. And you've heard the phrase, get the lead out? Have you heard that? Can I say poop?
Oh yeah.
Okay. The next day they would poop, and they would take a stick and go through their poop and pull the bullets out because they were hard to find. After they shot a hen den or a deer, first thing they go for is to dig in and try to find that bullet. So that's going to be on the quiz. That's going to be on the quiz once the tour is over. In 1824, President James Monroe granted 333 acres to Major George Adams. He wanted a flour mill, but he had to build a sawmill first. So at the end of our mill race is the foundation of the old sawmill. And he cut the wood from 1824 to 1826, passed away. 2 contractors came along, started construction of the mill, the timber frame part of the mill. These beams in here, these are 50 feet long, 12 by 16, and the logger would get paid, and there's 4 on each floor. a logger would get paid 20 cents to bring that tree to the mill site. The timber framer that squared that off, and that took 30 to 40 hours, was paid 70 cents, which is pretty good money. I'm a timber framer, and I tried about a 20-foot section, and it took me 8 hours to just do 20 feet of it. And it was not straight. It had a bend here and a bend there, and I'm sure they would have rejected it back in the old days. But you get better as time goes on, and you're starving to death. Manning and Hart started construction of the mill, had a falling out in their partnership, and Gabriel Bear came here from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and brought with him Magdalena Hershey, part of the Hershey chocolate family. He married into money. I married a starving artist who's not starving. Gabriel Bear saw the mill, had black walnut siding put on the mill, heard about the French burrstone, B-U-H-R, just the name of a rock like granite, sandstone, marble. Burr is the hardest rock in the world. There was only one quarry in the world, and that was in France. And these stones were sought after by world millers because they kept cool in the grinding process. These stones weigh 2 tons apiece. There's 2 in each cover here. The bottom stone is stationary. The top stone turns. Centrifugal force floats the flour to the outside. There's a little catch on all of them, and it goes down to the bagger on this one over here. So the stones are only the width of the grain apart from each other. So when I'm grinding, I try to keep a slow, constant feed of grain in to have a good, wholesome product. Feed it too slow, the 2 stones touch, overheats, kills the vitamins and minerals. A burnt smell comes up and out of the stone, hence the phrase, keep your nose to the grindstone. I'm going to be on the quiz. Gabriel Bear had to have these stones, so he got on his horse, rode to the coast, got on a ship, went to France. 2 years later, came back with these 3 French birthstones, and they cost $6,000 a set in 1848. That's $160,000 a set today, but there's no more left. The quarry's gone. There was a ledger that a doctor from Ohio bought from France about that particular quarry. And in that ledger, it said Gabriel Bear from the United States of America, Greenville, Ohio, bought 3 runs of stones. And so he was trying to find anything, and he called us up, and we said, yeah, they're right here. And I'm not a rock guy, but there's a fossil in these stones, a little bug. You have to have a magnifying glass. And if this bug was in these stones, that would be from that region, and we'd know it'd be really the right stones. And so he drove over here and identified them, and it's great that we have them. Runs the line shaft 1st and 4th floor. When I turn this on, I just opened up gates on the side of the turbine. This turbine is about this big, and that one is even bigger. So when I turn that wheel, it opens up gates on the side of the water, or side of the turbine. 10 feet of water, pushes down, hits that blade, off that cup, and that gives us our power. These turbines were put in 1862, and this one 1870. So that wheel is connected to this nub. And when I turn that, this gear system moves one way or the other, pulls these link rods back. They're connected to the gates on the side of the turbine. This runner is inside of this. And the only reason it's inside is to control the speed of the turbine. If we didn't have gates there, it would just run wild and it would go out of, it would blow apart. So this is a runner that's inside of this. Here's a cross section of it. These are the gates that we open up to get the water to run through the mill. We're standing up here. This is 10 feet deep. I open up these gates. This dam is suspended. Water, it's called the head of water, pushes down and expels out, and that gives us our power. When we have a lot of rain, a lot of water, and water backs up on the backside, the water can't get away, it can't flow away, and you have less power. You would think more water, more power, but these turbines don't work that way. Grind corn in the corn mill for you. This lever right here raises and lowers the burr stone. So if I'm doing cracked wheat, I would raise it up a little higher than normal, send it in a little faster. This is called a sinkhole, and there's a little trap door where I'll stick my hand in and pull out a sample of what I'm grinding. If it's too coarse or too fine, I make my adjustment with that red lever. If I want it finer, I lower the stone down. Coarser, I would raise it up. Goes in like that, comes out just like that. We have square dancers that come and buy our corn mill, and they throw it on the floor. You will be the best dancer in the house. I'm not paying attention. I'm not keeping my nose to the grindstone. And I'm going to clear this. £5,000 in 8 hours, 1848 to 1884. The burr stones were used. 1795. This was the beginning of the Northwest Territory. Everybody from the east was coming across this way, and you either pick up your supplies in Greenville or up in Toledo, and then restock in St. Louis or Chicago, and then the long track out. The burr stones couldn't feed the masses of people, so they invented the roller mills, these 3 machines right here. The new way to grind, to get the whitest, purest snowflake flour possible, and the bran you fed to the hogs. Steel cutters, rollers, go like this. The grain goes in between the rollers, and it's crushed. There's 2 sets of rollers in each machine. In the middle of the mill, those boxes there, those elevator legs, they have cups and belts in them. And they look just like this, cups and belts, and it's a big loop. It's 85 feet long. It goes up to the top, comes down over here, hits the bottom, and goes right straight back up. So the grain would start in this storage bin, into the front of that machine, down to the first floor, up to the 4th floor, into the back of that machine, down the 1st of the 4th in the front of this machine, down the 1st of the 4th in the back of that machine, down the 1st of the 4th. By the time it got down to the end, steel cutters overheat, kills your vitamins and minerals. Pillsbury uses the roller mills, only updated equipment. They grind out all the vitamins and minerals, put 4 back in. They actually take powdered bleach and bleach the flour, thinking that whiter is better for us, but it's not. We need to eat roughage, brown stuff. My motto is to have a clean colon by the end of the day, and if I have to eat a couple bullets, by golly, I will. Elevator legs, I have a couple doors off, and it shows the cups and belts. It carries the grain from first to fourth floor. And as it flips over the top, wherever we push and pull the right paddle, we can divert the grain to go anywhere we want in the mill. Next floor, all these old cell bills were on the mill door from 1897 to about 1945. It shows a great history of what was going on. 1918, World War I, 1937, the beginning of World War II, the year the Hindenburg blew up and crashed. To the next floor, there's a winch and pulley upstairs, and you take it up with a rope. And the corn we dump into the storage bin, this box hanging on the ceiling, holds about 1,000 pounds. Elevator leg right here, cups and belts. Grain goes down the first floor up to the fourth. There's 5 machines up here. There's 3 bottom ones right here that cleans the grain. The grain goes down the first, up to the fourth, above this first machine. It takes out the oversized kernels of corn, corn cobs. Coming down here, second leg, down the first, up to the fourth, through a second machine that scours the corn, polishes it, takes out smaller pieces of corn. It's called a smut remover. And most of our smuts are in Washington, D.C., Democrats, Republicans, Independents, the Nazi Party, a few libertarians, and 1 librarian. So once the grain goes through this second machine, it comes down here, and it passes over a magnet, because nuts and bolts would fall out of wagons, and you didn't want any metal to come in contact with that burst stone, or it would blow it apart. So even today, there are magnets in all our food machines to take out any kind of metal. So the grain goes up and down 5 times for the cleaning process. There's a machine up there we never identified, but it does a good job. Just leave it alone. Mills in the state of Ohio. 7 on the Greenville Creek, which is 30 miles long. What water went through one turbine went through the next turbine. A reusable source of energy that we should use, but we don't. 1884, when the roller mills were invented, if your mill wasn't big enough to accept all this equipment, the 3 big rollers downstairs, machines upstairs, all the elevator legs, I only have a 1-story mill. I can't compete with you guys, Pillsbury. So they'd set their mill on fire, collect $500 insurance money, and move to Indiana. 1913 flood washed out many dams and foundations. Again, can't afford to put it back. Set the mill on fire, collect $500, and be a fan of the Cardinals. That's what I was looking for. I couldn't come up with that. Go ahead. Yeah, that tree was 25 feet across. 25 feet across. Let's see, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 15. Gee, my name, that's a big tree, isn't it? I belong to the Timber Framers Guild of North America. Wherever we have a conference, we ask the cities what they want built. We'll build it if they supply the material. 400 of us got together and built this bridge in Guelph, Ontario. It was 120 feet long. It weighed 120,000 pounds, the largest thing ever moved by men and women by hand. 85 feet, so these 2 cranes could pick it up. We jacked it up, put it on rollers like the Egyptians, and we pulled it this way so the cranes could pick it up. I'm a crew leader. I have 25 people mad at me the whole time. Hey, you're here to work? Quit talking. These are the nails that hold the bridge together. 2,000 wood pegs like that, 3,000 pegs like that, and countless number of 1-inch pegs. Malabar Farm, Mansfield, Ohio, a historic farm. Lauren McCall and Humphrey Bogart, you dirty rat, you, was married there. And a lot of celebrities were married at this historic farm. The barn burned down. The state of Ohio asked us to build a barn. 125 of us built that in a weekend. Golden, British Columbia. They had a glacier-fed river. The kids would always cross in the winter time, and they'd lose a kid every year. Those Canadians aren't too smart, are they? So they built a bridge there. And And when we got there, we told the townspeople, this curved piece right here, we'll probably have to use laminate material because trees don't grow crooked. And they said, no, there's a valley up here in the Rockies where the trees grew crooked to get to the sun, and the loggers didn't want crooked trees, so we sent a logging crew up. They brought us back 6 beautiful crooked trees that we worked right into the bridge. Unbelievable. This picture here, I have a degree from MSU, that's making stuff up. I'm going to use that right now. And I'm going to pass it all on to everybody here. Mr. Highwater Pants is the boss. He's the heaviest guy there. Everybody else is starving and has a tool in their hands except Elmo. These guys were, when they wrote this story, they were bragging about this 27-foot saw they had built especially to cut down this 25-foot redwood tree. And I can't imagine the friction to pull that across 25 feet of wood. And then let's say you fall it, it's 300 feet tall. You build your sawmill right on site. You can't take it anywhere because it's just too massive. And I don't know how they made 2x4s or 2x6s. I probably should read up on that, but I don't have time. Let's go up one more flight. On the first floor in this line shaft, these 2 top steel gears, there's a line shaft and that goes all the way through the center of the mill that carries the cups and belts up. That's what those 2 gears do. This top pulley was continuously moving, and this pulley right here, when I pull down on this one, it engages with that top pulley that's turning. First of all, we drop this rope down to the ground, put 2 bags of grain on, or a Harley Davidson if there's one close by. When I pull down this rope, it engages the 2 pulleys together. That top pulley's always turning, and it brings the grain up automatic. That's really high tech for 1848. They didn't want to have to carry that grain up. And I drag it right over here, dump it into that storage bin that was hanging on the ceiling. Grain goes down the first floor, comes right back up right here above this first machine. This takes out the oversized crumbs of corn cobs, down to the first. And if you have 2 machines or 50 machines on the same floor, you want to get the clean product from the first machine bottom to the top of the second machine. The only way that can be done is have it go down at least 1 floor and then come right back up. And that's what it does here. This is the beginning of all your milling machinery throughout America, right here in this mill.